My name is Derek Cole, Staff Sergeant with the 101st Airborne. I was deployed in Kandahar when my wife ended our 13-year marriage. By email. She drained our bank account, forged my name, and moved her new lover into my home. She thought I wouldn't fight back. She had no idea who I am. It was just after chow. I had 20 minutes before my night patrol, so I figured I'd check my inbox. Maybe something from Madison, my wife of 13 years. Miss you. A photo, even a grocery list would have been enough. But what I got instead was an email with the subject line, "Let's be adults about this." That line alone felt like a gut punch. But the body of the message, 3 sentences, hit harder than anything I'd faced in combat. She'd filed for divorce. She'd emptied our joint bank accounts. Trevor, her new boyfriend, was now living in our home in Denver. Just like that. 13 years. Gone in a few cold lines of text and a PDF attachment. I read it twice. My hands didn't shake, but my breath caught. I didn't even blink. I closed the laptop, stood up, walked straight to the showers. The water was cold. I let it hit me in silence, the chills soaking through my skin but not touching the heat burning in my chest. There were no tears, no rage, just a silence so deep it roared in my ears. When I finally got back to my bunk, I replied to her email with one word: understood. That was it. No begging, no anger, no questions. Just a period at the end of a marriage I'd spent over a decade trying to build. My bunkmate, Ortiz, didn't look up from his copy of The Stand. He just asked, "You good, man?" "Yeah," I said. "Just some stuff back home." He nodded. "That's how it is in the Army. No one pries. You bleed quietly until it clots." But here's the truth. I wasn't blindsided. Not really. 6 months before my deployment, Madison started to change. Subtle at first, less interest in my day, excuses to skip calls, sudden nights out with the girls. She picked up a gym routine, but never looked like she broke a sweat. New clothes, new passwords, new energy for everything except us. I didn't confront her. That's not my style. I observe. I listen to patterns. And when those patterns start to shift, I prepare. Quietly. I rented a small storage unit under a fake name and started putting things away. Our marriage license, the deed to the house, my birth certificate, even my grandfather's war medals, and my mother's heirloom silver. I also opened a second bank account, slipping a portion of each paycheck into it. Not enough for her to notice, but enough for me to land on my feet if everything collapsed. And now it had. The last time I saw her, at the airport, she gave me a half-hearted hug and told me to stay safe. Her eyes were dry, her smile was practiced. And mine was hollow. Because I already knew. Madison thought she was ending our story with that email. She didn't know she'd just started the war. The morning after Madison's email, I strapped on my gear like I always did. No hesitation, no distraction, just routine. But something had shifted. I wasn't moving like a husband anymore. I was moving like a soldier on a mission. Focused, cold, resolved. On the outside, nothing had changed. I led my unit through the heat and dust, barked orders, reviewed patrol routes, radioed in reports. But on the inside, my mind was racing, calculating, processing, adjusting. This wasn't heartbreak. It was tactical adaptation. I'd been betrayed, but I wasn't broken. Madison thought she caught me off guard, but what she didn't know was that I'd felt this unraveling for months. It started with the silence. Not the comforting kind between two people who know each other well. No, this was the type of silence that hides something. Her voice grew distant during our calls. Her questions about my day disappeared. Her smile when I FaceTimed from base looked forced, as if she was checking a box, not greeting a husband. Then came the excuses. Working late, girl trips, new gym memberships, mysterious friends with names I never recognized. She stopped laughing at the things we used to laugh at. Stopped talking about our future. Her body was there, but her heart had moved on long before her confession arrived in my inbox. I'd seen it before, in brothers in arms whose wives drifted while they were gone. Some of them came back to empty homes. I told myself it wouldn't happen to me. But deep down, something in my gut had been screaming. I just didn't want to believe it. Still, I prepared. Because that's what soldiers do. A month before deployment, I rented a climate-controlled storage unit under a different name. I packed it with everything that mattered. Our house deed, my military records, my discharge papers, family keepsakes, even my Purple Heart. I sealed them in a fireproof box and placed it behind a shelf of old paint cans. Nobody knew it was there, not even Madison. I also funneled a small portion of each paycheck into a separate account under a credit union out of state. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to make sure I didn't come back to zero. I made digital backups of our documents, locked everything behind military-grade encryption. I even kept a printed copy of our prenup and my VA loan documents tucked in my kit bag. Madison thought she'd strip me bare when she hit send on that email, but I had already built my fallback. I remember our last night together. She lay on her side of the bed, scrolling on her phone, her back to me like I wasn't even there. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the soft tick of the clock, knowing this was the last time we'd share a room as husband and wife. I didn't touch her. I didn't speak. The next morning at the airport, her hug was limp, her eyes dry. She whispered, "Stay safe." And I smiled, because I already had, not just on the battlefield, but from her. 2 weeks after that gutless email, I was sitting in the mess hall halfway through a plate of powdered eggs and cardboard sausage when my phone buzzed. At first, I thought it was just another sandstorm alert or an update from command. But no, it was from the bank app one hadn't checked in days. Withdrawal, $88,500. I stared at the screen, blinking like maybe I'd misread it. I refreshed the app. The checking account showed a balance of $22.37. I switched to savings, 0. It wasn't a glitch. It was a massacre. I put the fork down and stood up so fast my chair scraped back on the concrete. I walked out into the Afghan heat, where the sun beat down like punishment. My fists were clenched, not out of rage, but restraint. My pulse was steady, but my mind was on fire. Madison hadn't just filed for divorce. She'd gutted everything we'd built. Years of saving. Deployment bonuses. Every dollar I ever tucked away for the future. For our future, gone. Just like that. I found a quiet corner near the satellite comms tent and called the bank using the limited baseline. After 40 minutes of back and forth, verification codes, and hold music, a tired-sounding rep confirmed what I already feared. "She's been making transfers for weeks," he said. "Small at first, then larger. It escalated after your last paycheck cleared." My jaw locked. "She started the big moves the day after I left?" "Yes, sir. Do you want to initiate a fraud claim?" "I'll handle it another way," I said, and hung up. I stood there for a long time, watching guys nearby FaceTiming their kids, laughing with wives and girlfriends, smiling through cracked screens. Life, carrying on like normal, while mine was disassembled piece by piece from thousands of miles away. That night, back in the barracks, Ortiz found me sitting on the edge of my cot, staring at nothing. "You all right?" he asked. I didn't look at him. She emptied the accounts, moved in the guy, filed while I was out on patrol. He didn't say damn, or that sucks, or you'll bounce back. He just asked, "What's your plan?" That's why I respected Ortiz. Because in this world, pain isn't what defines you. It's how you respond. I didn't have a plan yet, but I was already forming one. Later that night, I opened my laptop again. Not to reread her email or check our photos. I logged into our home security system. The one I'd installed myself. The one she probably forgot I still had access to. The feed loaded. There was a truck in the driveway I didn't recognize. A man, Trevor, no doubt, was walking our dog. My dog. He was wearing my Seahawks sweatshirt and drinking from my coffee mug. And there was Madison, barefoot in the kitchen I remodeled, laughing like nothing mattered. That was the moment it all crystallized. This wasn't heartbreak anymore. This was war. She thought she'd taken everything. But she forgot who I am. I don't break. I don't beg. And I don't back down. The next morning, I skipped chow and stared at the same footage again. Trevor, strolling through my front yard like he owned it, leash in one hand, my coffee mug in the other. He didn't just move in. He moved into my life. And Madison? She looked completely at ease, like the past 13 years had been nothing more than a long rehearsal for her new role. But this wasn't just cheating. This was calculated, coordinated theft. A hostile takeover in plain sight. And I wasn't about to let it slide. I pulled out my notebook and drew a hard line across the top of the page. Beneath it, I started my list. Not one for vengeance, but for strategy. Step 1. Call Ben. Ben Weston. My old Army buddy from Fort Campbell, turned criminal attorney back in Colorado. We hadn't spoken much since he traded camo for courtrooms, but I knew one thing. Ben didn't blink when things got ugly. I texted him a simple message. Need legal help. Discreet. Urgent. He called me within an hour. I told him everything. The email. The drained accounts. The new man in my house. The footage. Ben was silent for a beat. Then he said, "Send me the video. And Derek, you better sit down." I didn't like the sound of that. 24 hours later, Ben called again. His voice was sharper this time, cold with focus. "She filed a refinance application on the house 3 months ago." My stomach dropped. "She forged your signature," he continued. "Pulled out 330 grand in equity. Listed Trevor as the co-applicant." I didn't speak. Couldn't. She messed up the middle initial and the stroke patterns wrong. But to the bank, it passed. That wasn't a mistake. That was fraud. "She used my name," I said finally, voice low. "Used my deployment. My absence. To steal everything. And there's more," Ben added. "I ran Trevor's name. 2 DUIs, a fraud conviction from 2019. He's not just a pretty face. He's a pro. And he's done this before." I stared out the window at the Kandahar horizon, bleak, endless, suffocating. But it was nothing compared to what I was feeling now. "You think she's in on it?" Ben didn't answer right away. "Either she's the mark, or she's part of the play. But either way, you're not the first. I found 2 other cases, military husbands deployed, wives suddenly filing for loans, houses sold, money vanished. Same pattern." My fingers tightened around the edge of the cot. Madison hadn't just replaced me. She'd conspired, whether knowingly or not, with a man who preyed on military families like mine. And now, they were preparing to sell the house right out from under me. Ben's voice snapped me out of it. "You ready for the next step?" "I'm done watching," I said. "What's the move?" Ben didn't hesitate. "It's time to go federal. This isn't just betrayal. This is a criminal operation." I looked back down at my list. I drew a second line and wrote it clearly. Step 2. Contact the FBI. Because now, it wasn't just about taking back what was mine. It was about exposing everything. The moment I wrote "Contact the FBI" in bold ink, something inside me clicked into place. I wasn't just a husband scorned. I was a soldier on a new battlefield, one where the enemy wasn't carrying rifles, but paperwork, legal documents twisted into weapons, signatures turned into knives. Ben didn't waste time. He sent everything we had: footage, forged documents, the refinance contract, and a digital copy of my real signature, to his contact at the Financial Crimes Division. Within days, I got a secure call from Agent Ramirez. Her voice was sharp, clipped, and all business. "We've been tracking patterns like this for months," she said. "Military spouses being targeted during deployment, real estate fraud, identity theft, and strategic financial manipulation. You may have just handed us the smoking gun." I uploaded weeks of home security footage, every minute Trevor strutted around my house, every time he parked in my driveway. And Madison, God, Madison, laughing in the kitchen I remodeled, pouring wine, toasting to a freedom she never earned. She had no idea those quiet, everyday moments were becoming evidence. But then came the real twist. Ben was digging deeper, and a new name surfaced: Eli Carter. He was a real estate agent in Denver. The name didn't ring any bells until we saw his bank account linked to multiple deposits from the refinance Madison had filed. "Who's this guy?" I asked. Ben sounded grim. "He's worked with Trevor on at least 3 other quick-sale home deals, all involving women divorcing deployed military men. Same timeline, same pattern. The homes were sold below market value for fast cash. Guess where the money went? Split between Carter and Trevor?" I guessed. Bingo. This wasn't just infidelity. This was organized, repeatable, and cold-blooded. Trevor was running a con, and Madison had either been seduced into it or willingly joined the game. Either way, it was a playbook designed to cripple people like me when we were at our most vulnerable. "This guy's done this before," Ramirez confirmed. "Trevor Ryan, real name Kyle Trevor, is on our radar. Eli Carter's under investigation in 2 other states." It wasn't just about me anymore. There were others, guys like me, blindsided while serving their country. Families destroyed not by war, but by deception back home. "Why hasn't anyone stopped them?" I asked. "Because no one's brought us a case with this much hard evidence," Ramirez said. "Until now." That night, I sat on my cot, alone with the noise of the bass fading into the background. I opened one more camera feed, Trevor flipping through my mail at the kitchen table. He picked up a photo of Madison and me, smirked, tossed it in the trash. I didn't feel anger anymore. I felt precision, focus, purpose. They thought I'd roll over. that I'd be just another silent casualty. But they didn't realize, when I go to war, I don't swing wild. I am center mass. And now? Now I was locked on target. 2 months after that call with Agent Ramirez, I set foot back on American soil, but not as the man who left. This wasn't a homecoming. This was a tactical return. I didn't tell a soul I was back. Not Madison. Not her family. Not even the neighbors. I checked into a motel just outside Denver under a different name and paid in cash. The mission had changed, and I wasn't taking any chances. Ben met me at a rundown diner off the interstate. He slid a manila folder across the table like we were trading military intel. Inside was a gold mine. Copies of the forged refinance documents, screenshots of the transfers, property records, and one more thing. There's a new set of documents, Ben said. Looks like she's getting ready to sell the house. I stared at the papers, listing prep forms, realtor agreements, and several deposits to a familiar name, Eli Carter. She's actually doing it, I muttered. She's selling my house. She's trying to, Ben corrected. And she's using Trevor as her partner. Carter's facilitating it, just like in the other cases. All fast cash, below market, no questions asked. I sat back, my pulse slow and steady. Madison was finishing what she started. She wasn't just moving on, she was cashing in. But what she didn't know was that I'd already laced every inch of that house with digital surveillance. Interior, exterior, motion-triggered, cloud-backed. It was designed for security while I was overseas, but now it was my strongest weapon. Everything they said and did was being recorded in high definition. Then, out of nowhere, Madison texted me. We need to talk. Meet me at Riverfront Park. 10 a.m. tomorrow. I didn't respond. I just showed Ben. Don't go, he warned. It's bait. She wants to reel you in emotionally. Don't take it. I'm not going, I said. But I am going to find out what she does while she thinks I'm on my way. The next morning, we parked across the street from the house. At 9:45 a.m., right on schedule, Madison pulled out of the driveway and drove toward the park. 5 minutes later, a black SUV with Carter Realty Group, plastered on the side, pulled up. Eli Carter stepped out, clipboard in hand. A moment later, Trevor strolled up the walk and greeted him like an old friend. They shook hands and walked inside. I pulled up the live security feed on my phone, tilted it so Ben could see. The cameras showed everything. Trevor giving a tour, pointing out features like he owned the place, Eli taking photos. Should list by the end of the week, Eli said. Got a buyer lined up. Cash, as usual. What about the husband? Trevor asked. Eli chuckled. Military types always make noise, but they're too busy or too far gone to do anything. He'll settle. They always do. Ben leaned in, eyes locked on the screen. Are you recording this? Live stream to the cloud, I said. Every word. Every angle. I forwarded the video to Agent Ramirez with 2 simple words. Happening now. Let them smile. Let them toast. Because they just walked into the trap I built. 30 minutes after I sent the footage to Agent Ramirez, the street outside my house transformed into a crime scene. Black SUVs with tinted windows rolled in like a covert assault team. The quiet suburban calm shattered as federal agents moved in with precision. No sirens, no announcements. Just pure tactical execution. Ben and I sat in my truck, parked 3 houses down, watching it all unfold. My phone buzzed with a message from Ramirez. Confirmed visual. Go time. Through the windshield, we saw Eli Carter and Trevor step onto the front porch, laughing, completely unaware of the storm about to break over them. Then it happened. Agents swarmed the lawn, guns drawn, vests on, barking orders with rehearsed clarity. Eli dropped his clipboard and threw his hands up. Trevor froze, his smirk collapsing into panic. They were cuffed and separated before they could blink. And then, like clockwork, Madison arrived. She must have realized I hadn't shown at the park. Maybe she came back early to see if something was wrong. Or maybe she was just curious. But when she saw the FBI hauling boxes out of the house, her knees buckled. She stood on the lawn, one hand covering her mouth, the other trembling at her side. She looked right at the front door, where 2 agents carried out files, hard drives, and documents. Her eyes locked on Trevor as he sat cuffed in the back of a government SUV. That's when my phone rang. Ramirez again. We got it all, she said. Wire fraud, conspiracy, real estate fraud, and attempted theft of federal property. The refinance paperwork, the fake signatures, the video, airtight. And Madison? I asked. She's distressed. Claims she didn't know. We'll verify that. I didn't respond. I was still watching her. Madison wasn't crying. She wasn't shouting. She looked like someone watching a building collapse that she helped design but never expected to fall. Later that day, she left me a voicemail. Derek, please. I don't know what's happening. The bank is freezing everything. They arrested Trevor. Can we please talk? No, we couldn't. There was nothing left to say. Ben and I drove downtown to meet with the bank's fraud investigator, Mr. Thornton, a tired-looking man with a coffee-stained shirt and eyes that had seen too many stories like mine. This isn't rare, he said, laying out the paperwork. Spouses deploy. The ones left behind think they've got an opportunity. He turned his screen toward me. We froze most of the funds from the refinance. But some were already moved. How much? I asked. 14.6, he replied. Transferred to Eli Carter's holding account. He was prepping the listing. Your house was days from being sold. And Madison? I asked. He shrugged. Hard to say if she knew the full extent. But we're treating it as a federal case now. I left the bank with one thought on repeat. This wasn't about Madison anymore. It wasn't even about Trevor. This was about a system that preyed on those who served, and a network that thought no one would notice. They were wrong, and I was just getting started. The investigation moved faster than anyone expected. With Eli and Trevor caught red-handed in hours of video and financial records backing the case, the feds had everything they needed. Within weeks, both men were offered plea deals. Trevor folded first, naming names, detailing their scheme, trying to save his own skin. Eli followed shortly after. His lawyer knew the evidence was airtight. Trevor, whose real name turned out to be Kyle Trevor Ryan, was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. Eli Carter got 12. Turns out, this wasn't their first rodeo. They had scammed at least 11 other military families across 3 states. I was just the first one with enough evidence to blow it wide open. And Madison? She stuck to her story. Claimed Kyle told her I had been hiding money, that I planned to leave her, that she was just trying to protect herself. She said the refinance was his idea and that she'd only sign what he told her to. Maybe some of that was true. Maybe it wasn't. But the fact remained. She forged my signature, drained our accounts, and laughed in the kitchen I built while I was halfway across the world. She made choices. And now she had to live with the consequences. We reached a settlement. She agreed to full restitution of the stolen funds, forfeited all claims to the house and to my military pension, and signed a sworn confession admitting to the forgery. In return, I didn't press charges. I didn't want a trial. I didn't want my life dragged through courtrooms and headlines. I just wanted it over. The divorce was finalized exactly 6 months after the day I got her email in Kandahar. No fault. No contest. Just a clean break. I walked away with my dignity, my name, and a clear conscience. Madison walked away with nothing. A few days later, Agent Ramirez called. Thought you'd want to know, she said. Trevor was sentenced this morning. 8 years. Eli got 12. I thanked her, then asked, what about the other families? We're working on restitution. Your case connected the dots. You helped bring this whole ring down. When I hung up, I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel angry anymore. I just felt still, like the dust had finally settled. I sold the house. I couldn't walk those halls again. Too many memories. Too many ghosts. I used the proceeds to buy a small cabin near Flathead Lake in Montana. 2 bedrooms, 10 acres of pine and quiet, and a creek that runs along the back edge of the property. I named my new German Shepherd Ranger, and I started building furniture for the locals. Barn doors, rocking chairs, porch swings. Something real. Something honest. One evening, I got a handwritten letter in the mail from a Navy wife in Fort Worth. Her husband had been deployed when Trevor and Eli tried to run the same scheme on her. The FBI had connected their case using mine. You don't know me, she wrote, but you saved our home. Thank you for not staying silent. I pinned it to the fridge. And when the nights get too quiet, or the memories creep back in, I read it again. Because this wasn't just about what they took from me. It was about what I reclaimed on my terms. If there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's that trust should never come without preparation. Love, no matter how deep, needs accountability and vigilance. For folks like us, especially in our later years, it's easy to believe betrayal only happens to the young. But deception doesn't check your age. It finds cracks, emotional, financial, and legal, and it exploits them. My advice: protect your name. Safeguard your assets. Keep records, monitor accounts, and don't ignore those quiet gut instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't be afraid to have uncomfortable conversations, even with the people you love most. And if the ground ever gives out beneath you, don't freeze. Pivot. Rebuild. There's a quiet kind of strength that comes with age, a steadiness forged by time. And sometimes, the most powerful thing we can do is walk away with our dignity intact and start again, this time with our eyes wide open.